open up the episode with Joel mourning the loss of Tess from the last episode. It's just Joel and Ellie now, and they arrive at this house, and Ellie finds a hole that she promptly jumps right down into. And it's here that we see her get her first actual zombie kill. She stabs the zombie in the head, and she's a fast learner. They leave this gas station, I think it is, and they come across, and this is where we see the scene from the trailer. This scene from the trailer. Joel explains to Ellie what happened, how the zombie apocalypse kind of happened over a weekend, and how if the quarantine zones were filled with people, the excess people were called. They were told they could go to the QZ, but then if there were too many people in there, the soldiers would take the people off and kill them because there's too many mouths to feed, I guess. They wouldn't just let them go out. This is where we take a trip back in time and we see Bill. Bill pops up. Bill is played by none other than Nick Offerman, Parks and Recreation.
Would you like to sample our vegan bacon? 100% meatless.
Yes, please. Another, please.
Sir, is there a problem?
I'm just making sure no one ever has to eat this.
Funny dude. And he's one of those people that's been preparing for the zombie apocalypse ever since 9/11 happened. Before long, we find out that Bill done trapped him. Bill there's a person that has fallen into his trap, and he's alerted to this. He goes outside and he's like, "Hot dog, I caught some booty."
I came looking for booty.
Somehow this guy, we find out his name is Frank, convinces Bill not to kill him, not only to not kill him, but to let him inside his home, and which is probably the best location in this whole zombie apocalypse, and feed him and allow him to take a shower. Anyways, Bill and Frank fuck. And it's in this scene that we find out that Bill is a batty virgin.
Can I kiss you?
Mm-hmm.
And this is the start of their relationship. Fast forward 3 years, and they're having a full-on lover spat. Frank wants to gay up the place or something in anticipation for Joel and Tess's arrival, which leads to this Nick Offerman line.
We don't have friends, Frank. We will never have friends because there are no friends to be had.
And he delivers this line in such a way that only Nick Offerman could. He's the only person on the face of this earth that could deliver that line the way that he did. Raiders show up to the compound, and unfortunately for them, Bill has been preparing for this moment his entire life, and they're easily disposed. Bill gets shot, but it's not something that is of any consequence because he survives. Time skip again. 10 years in the future, and we see that they've both aged quite a bit. Only Frank, is the worst for health, to say the least. He's miserable. Frank is miserable. He can't move around, without a wheelchair or Bill's help. And he declares to Bill that, he doesn't want to live like this anymore, and he would rather end it. Frank says he wants to go out on his own terms, and he explains to Bill how he wants to go out and how they're gonna spend his last moments together. Sitting at the dinner table, and Frank downs a lethal dose of these pills, which is when Bill drops this bombshell.
I also like to live dangerously.
Unable to bear the thought of living the rest of his life without his boo, Bill tells Frank that he has also taken a lethal dose of these pills, and they're both going to be dying at the same time. Surprise. They both take the pills in some wine, and then they walk off into the bedroom where they go to sleep, and they never wake up. They lock the door behind them, and that's unfortunately the end of Bill and Frank. I find it's a touching end to a wonderfully crafted and a beautiful love story. Joel and Ellie finally arrives at Bill's compound. Ellie finds a note in which Bill bequeaths all his earthly possessions to Joel. While they're at Bill's house, they decide to take a shower, clean up, get some supplies, as we do in the game, quite often. While Joel's in the shower, Ellie comes across a handgun, and she quickly stashes it in her backpack, unbeknownst to Joel. And I'm pretty sure that's gonna show up in a later episode. I'm hoping that I'm predicting that she's gonna use this gun to save Joel at some point. Can't wait to see how that works out. Joel and Ellie hop in a truck, wrapping up the episode. This is where the deviation from the game story completes, and the writers now have an opportunity. They're back in sync with the game. They can either choose to deviate some more, or they can go more in line with what's in the actual story of the source material. So far, this episode has been the most deviation we've had from the story of the source material in the game. And I have to say that there's some good deviation and bad deviation. In the last episode, at the end of the last episode, episode 2, I find that the way that it ended with how Tess died was terrible deviation. Terrible. But the way that they crafted Bill and Frank's story changed it so much from the game to make it a more significant part of the overall story. Is good deviation. It was told well, but yeah, I really enjoyed this episode. I think I'm gonna have to give it a 9 out of 10. Till next time, like, comment, subscribe, respect.